Holbrook New Media.
This is Jeffrey K. Holbrook. Welcome to the audio feed from holbrooknewmedia.com. Today, Geoff and Jeffrey, the weekly catch-up. We hope you enjoy the audio version. If you want to see what we look like, I will embed the video for this episode at holbrooknewmedia.com.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of the Weekly Catch-Up. More after this. Well, good evening, Jeffrey K. Holbrook, the co-host of the Weekly Catch-Up.
Greetings.
How are you?
Sorry about that. I still had the live stream audio on, and so we got a little bit of a background noise there. I was going, thinking, oh, I forgot to turn it off.
Yeah. So, I was just saying, hopefully it's gone all right. The live stream gone on there okay today, but I thought we'll just get straight into it. I was just waiting, and I thought we just came on exactly on about 9 o'clock, I think, with not a minute to spare.
No, it happened right then because I've been having an interesting situation with my computer. A big update came through a couple of days ago on Microsoft, and evidently they're upgrading Windows 10, a pretty major upgrade. And then I come in and find that my computer, about 3 hours later, my computer just has this little thing in the middle of the screen going in a circle. And so I thought, well, so I went ahead and went to bed and slept, and then got up in the evening before I went to work. About 12 hours later, still have the little circle in the middle of the screen. Didn't really have time to deal with it. So I went ahead and went to work, come back, and right at 24 hours later, still have a little circle in the middle of the screen. So I thought, oh boy. So I just went ahead and, forced it down, turned it off, and thinking, well, is it going to come back or not? So I went ahead and let it cool down for a while, came back, turned it on, and it said that it was about 75% done with the thing after it did a lot of flashing around. And then finally it came up and said, okay, go ahead. And then it went through this thing the same way it did when you first start up with Windows 10, when you first get it. Don't worry about it. We're taking care of this and everything. And it took them a long time to get it set up. And then it finally worked. But what I find is, whenever I turn the computer on myself physically, then it will come up and it's okay. But as soon as I turn the computer off, there's a bit of a delay. And even if I say shut down and not restart, it will restart, and then it'll have that in the middle of the screen, and I have to do a forced shutdown before I can use the computer and fire it back up.
Well, because the thing is as well, don't the Windows 10 now automatically upgrades without you scheduling it? Does it just come on?
Somebody said that you can stop it from doing it automatically, and then you can pick and choose when it happens. But this was like a 2-day operation, so it really wouldn't have helped no matter when I did it. But anyway, I got it all done in time to do this. This is what I was worried about. I was afraid I was going to have to make some other arrangements with my wife's computer or something, and so I'm like, uh-oh.
Oh, well, if he went there, I wouldn't have worried too much. That I was going to go on and just say, hey, well, the weekly catch-up's not going to be this week, but just in case, and I would have left a little message on the live stream anyways, because it's not the end of the world if we don't turn up, because all the viewers that are watching, probably none, through the live stream anyway. So
right now we have one watching now.
That's you, isn't it?
Yes, that's me. Like you say, it's just a bad time of the day for me, a bad time of the morning for us, and a bad time of the night for you guys, probably. So,
well, that's right. It's not the sort of 6 o'clock in the morning and 9 o'clock at night. It's not the sort of thing where you get a decent audience, I don't think, anyway. But that's always happens to me as well at times when you've got updates. Is you just go and think, oh, I'll just do that quick update. And you press the button and you think, yeah, I've got 6 to 8 hours to go before I have to do something. And you're getting to the 7.5 hours later and you think, my goodness, it's still going. Or I remember there's one of the other ones is Tom Sinclair, who does another podcast called Streaming Idiots.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you've told me about that. That's pretty cool.
He's such a great guy. He does such a good job. And I wish I could do that. He does a pod on his own, just by himself talking. He does such a good job on there. But one of the things he says, if you've got something new to do it, and you think you might just do it the day before your show, just don't. He said, 'cause I can tell you, when you do that, the show's going, it will crash. You will lose your sound. You will do everything else. He said, just after you switch off the live stream, he said, then go and do it. He said that you've got a week before you've got to get the thing back. He said, but a day, 24 hours, that you think you've got plenty of time. Said no. If you've got your shot set up and you're ready, just leave it. And because he's done that before, he said, I just ignored my own rule. I thought, I've got 6 to 8 hours. I'll just install this, and then nothing worked. And like he says, when I call myself the streaming idiot, I've got nowhere else to go down to. So it can only go up from here. But he's such a nice. Where's he? He's in Alabama. I think that's where he is. Yeah, okay. Alabama. Well, but if you have a time, you should watch him. He's quite entertaining, but it does quite a good podcast. But and he has quite a few viewers watching live and in the chat room, so he gets quite a lot of interaction from the crowd anyway. So it makes it go on to get a few more subjects and that. I'd love to get some questions or something else to put us onto a different scheme of things for something else to talk about.
Yeah, like I say, we could pop in and ask a couple of questions, and you never know, we might get some people wondering about our show.
Oh, I thought you were saying we can pop in and ask a couple of questions on our own podcast.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, well, I'll try to get my wife to pop in and do that. Maybe that'd be.
Well, you should. You guys think about this. Oh, we've got somebody here asking a question. What do you think about this? And we can pretend we know what we're talking about as well. So.
Oh yes, it's a good act.
So have you been up to anything fantastic this week?
Yes. You remember I told you before that I had decided that I was going to, stop putting out the podcast feed, because it really didn't seem to be going anywhere. And it was taking, a fair amount of time for me to do the editing and everything like this. Well, I didn't put it out. I haven't put anything out for about a month. And all of a sudden, I've started being asked, what happened to the show? And and it's kind of like, I didn't know if anybody would notice. and so I thought, okay. I thought, well, okay, here's what I'll do. The live stream that you put on YouTube is not edited. And again, I wasn't doing any heavy editing. I was just tightening things up. And if we had tried to put something on there that wasn't visible, in the audio, then I would just cut that section out. But I mean, really, I was just tightening up some little things. If we talked over each other for a second and then, I would cut that out. Well, I just decided, instead of, I was taking probably 2 hours or 3 hours because I was listening to it at regular speed, tightening it up, doing show notes as we went on the different subjects we talked about and stuff like that. And I thought, well, people want to hear the show, and nobody's really that much looking at the show notes on my website. That's normal for podcasting. So I'm just going to put a canned front end, a canned back end, chop the ends off of it where I started, where we're talking and I'm recording that. And I've got it all on here. You're on a different channel than what I am on my Zoom recorder here. So I can make them equal. And in about 15 minutes, less than half an hour, it's online and ready to go. So, I may not do it now because I'm actually 2 weeks ahead, but I did 3 of them the other night. Really simple to put out. And so now evidently the fans are happy again. So there are some people who listen on the podcast end of it and wondered what happened to it.
Well, that's good. And that's exactly why I've just started to do the live stream, going to blank and just starting it up.
Sure.
And not saying, I'm going to start in a few minutes, because that's something you have to edit out.
Sure.
And I said, well, okay, let's just start it and see if it works. Because they usually start we know it's going to work. And hey, if it doesn't work, it's not the end of the world, but you monitor the live stream so you can sort of see that it is working a bit. So that's what I've been doing, just starting that and finishing it. Then I don't do any editing, because I think as well, if people liked it, if you do make mistakes, hey, leave them in and all that. But you can see with the audio, if you have something where we're showing something, but we very rarely do. And now we've solved the problem. We don't talk over each other anymore. because we can hear. It's sort of like what they call it, duplex, so you can talk at the same time and hear each other. Whereas before we just could not do that. But I still don't understand how Skype and that works sometimes, because I always thought, because when we do Tech Down Over, sometimes I'm always delayed on Rick's end to much more, but I can never get as clear as this one as we do on this one.
Well, you have actually backed out of some of the things that I think he is doing on that end. I think the more you run it through, the more things you put in the line, in the chain, the more it gets shut down. Plus, you only have two people here, so you are able to do a more bare bones operation, whereas he's bringing in two or three other people. Well, that complicates everything. Then you need, as soon as we quit using the second computer for the call and then piping that into it, that's when the delay stopped.
That's right, and that's what he's using.
He has to.
It has to for that, but I just thought and my computer is not using a lot of. It seems to have plenty of RAM, but when months ago, they must have updated Skype, because Skype used to, all of a sudden I'd be on this and I'd be looking at my computer and seeing the RAM going. I've got 32 gigs RAM. I can see it going down 24, 19, 18, 17, 16, 10. And I'll be sort of looking at the 5. Oh,
dun, dun, dun.
Oh, no, I thought it's just going to die. And sometimes in the middle of the show, and then it just freezes. And I can't do anything. I just have to hold the button, crash out of the whole, because it locks up the whole computer. It just, because it eats up all the RAM. But it hasn't done that for months and months now. So I don't know whether it's they've just fixed it up or what. But Skype has a tendency of doing that as well. It just updates by itself in the background. You can't stop that from upgrading. So one of the things I did have that it used to do, I used to be able to go directly from this camera into Skype and then give that signal straight to Rick. But Skype, it won't let me do that anymore through the Black Magic. I can't do that. I have to go through Wirecast, put it through there, and that's sometimes, because of virtual, that's sometimes a bit of a strain. But that's what we're doing now. I'm putting the signal from the camera into Skype, into Wirecast, and then pushing that the virtual microphone, so the sound goes out through Skype. Same thing with the picture. So that's why you see the output, and then I'm just looking at a little picture of you, the incoming call, so I can just see your picture all the time. So I'm not seeing the out feed, so I can look slightly off to the side, and I can see you. What I'm thinking of getting, I don't know if you've seen it, but you can get for the iPad. I think it's called Duo. There's an app you put on your iPad, so I can use it as a separate monitor for the computer. But I put the monitor next to the camera, and then I can sort of look at you like that. And also as well, when I look like that, I'm looking at you now, aren't I? I was looking at you. Yeah. Whereas then I know you're over that way. Whereas when I look at you on the screen there, oh no, I don't think that's the right way. Is that the wrong way? Am I looking away from you?
Yeah, you're looking away from me now.
Yeah, so we're looking at the wrong way. But here I can look there, and I'm looking at you. So that's okay. I'm looking straight at you.
I guess you could put the monitor over here, and then I would be looking at you, because you have to look the opposite direction in order to see what's going on, it seems.
That's right. But I always, after doing this, I really appreciate those weather people doing that when they go, and over here, just in Alabama, it's
and they got their little push buttony thing, and they've got their hands up here showing what's going on.
Looking at the monitor, and they're doing all that, but they're just pointing out to it, and I thought, gee, it would be. I really appreciate, because you just even pointing the wrong way. I thought, yep, see, this is where I'd be wrong way. That's over that way on that. But
you never see them mess up.
No, but technology still does amaze me. Well, what else I've been doing this week as well? Just yesterday, I went to a conference here in Melbourne called LearnX.
Oh, okay.
Which was a conference on e-learning, getting e-learning modules. So that was a bit of a change, but on the way there, I couldn't resist on the. It was. We've had some really nice weather. Like it's been really strange here. The other night, this time last week, I think yes, I had the air conditioning on because it was getting a bit warm and it'd been a bit stuffy, so I put that on there. Yesterday it was a top temperature 9 degrees, which what's that, about 45, is it, or
Yeah.
40?
Yeah, I think something like that. Yeah, I've been planning on getting a side-by-side temperature scale I could just print up and have here beside, because I know your degrees, I think, are a lot bigger than what ours are, because I
Yeah.
believe in Celsius, water freezes at 0 and then boils at 100, right?
Yes,
Well,
that's right.
on the Fahrenheit scale, it boils at 32 degrees. I mean, it freezes at 32, but then it's 212 where it boils.
Yes,
So
that's
our
right.
degrees are roughly twice. I mean, they're about half the size of yours. So the
Well, I
difference
know.
from one degree to the next one is going to be 2 degrees for us, as it goes. So,
When it's about, I will always remember about 44 degrees here.
mhm.
When it's 44 here, that's about 113.
Yeah, there you
That's
go.
what I remember. So that's roughly what it is. But getting back to what it was, then yesterday going in there, it was, like I said, top temperature of 9. So it's about your 40, 45 degrees. So it was cold.
Mhm,
It was chucking it down with rain.
mhm.
And I drove into the city, and that wasn't too bad. It was busy in the peak traffic, and there was this big truck in front of me. Honestly, I think he must have either been drunk or kept falling asleep,
Hmm.
because he kept all of a sudden swerve over and then
Whoa.
coach, then swerve over, and he was going. And I thought, I've got to get past this guy, so I've got to let him pull his foot down. I thought, it was so dangerous because he just kept, and then you see all the other cats screeching off because I don't know what he was doing, but definitely probably on the phone. Maybe that was another thing. Not drunk. Drunk would be preferable to being on the phone, I think, sometimes.
Yeah, well, at
But
least you're trying to pay attention.
but happening that, I got to the city nice and safely, but I got there in plenty of time. But it just, I don't know about you, but I love cold, windy, wet days. It's good for taking pictures. So I took the iPhone out and took some video
Hmm.
of the city, and I'll put that up because it's when I get time, and put it on YouTube for that. But it just really amazed me, and plus I couldn't resist. I got some great slider shots, holding it coming down the escalator.
Ah, cool.
Because I just couldn't resist, and I thought it was really good looking at the exhibition center. But and then sitting in one of the rooms, it just had such a good view, and I think you can barely see me in the reflection on the video. But I was quite amazed at the quality that you do get these days out of the iPhone. I thought, gee, that's really good video quality for just that little camera that you do have there. But that was one of the things that I want to get into as well. But with this conference, it was doing more effective e-learning, and one of the things I want to get in with doing this is doing some more webinars, because you do a lot of these training things that take you months to do or weeks and weeks to do. But a lot of the things you could get a lot out of recording your own webinars, and like, I don't know about you, but I get a lot out of these webinars from places when they're trying to teach you how to do something. And so I've got some ideas, and it's quite funny. Some of the places, things they're suggesting, and one of the presenters was saying, oh, well, how you just do this to do it quick and horribly and do this, and we want to do it this way. And I thought, I picked up a good, horrible, cheap way of doing something that I thought, well, that's better than nothing. So, even I picked up a bad way of doing it. Hudson's come back so you might see his nose pat up, but he's come back, but he's been very good. So I've left him alone there.
Yeah.
But it's been great to get out to these conferences, and as I said, I haven't been one for a couple of years now, but it's just quite impressive. Like from what I do for my work for the e-learning modules, nothing compared to, you see, some people there. There was one presenter there that's from, well, you have a Coles supermarket there, but we do, but it's spelt differently. Yours is KOHL, isn't it?
Yeah, it's more of a department store. They don't have groceries, but yeah,
we have a Coles grocery store, which is COLES.
Oh, okay.
And they had the new software to roll out for their point of sale, and they had to deliver it to 50,000 people. And for Australia, that's a lot of people. Not for you guys, probably not too many. Oh, that's not. We've probably got 500,000 people but 50,000 people. That's a lot to do it out to. So it was great to see some of the good ideas that they had for that, and to know that you're not all on your own, because even these people who did this one for 50,000 people, it was just the two of them that had to do it in-house with the resources that they had. So I thought, well, it's not, it's not always yourself doing it by yourself or doing that. There's others doing a lot of that out there as well. But it's quite good, and I really did enjoy that. So it's good to get out and about and see different thing what different people do as well. So, but as I said, bit of a miserable day out, but that was good, because it would be even worse if it was nice, thinking, well, I'm stuck inside. But even then, I don't mind. I quite enjoy doing those things. I would have even gone if it was on a Saturday, if it wasn't on a work day, but the work was gracious enough to pay for that and let us go during the daytime. But I think it will help in that. But I really did enjoy that. So that was my things.
I had a thing where I was doing a video one time, and I said a couple of times that while we were camping, that a rainy day camping, it was in the fall and it was wet, and it was raining. A rainy day camping was way better than a really nice day when you were at work. And so, because if you're at work and it's a nice day, then you're inside going, meh, 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 meh. But if it's raining and you're outside, you can just kind of sit out there and watch it, and then sit in your camper, and you are way better off. But I had one of my friends come to me at work and ask me where the show was at, and I asked, and he says he listens to it every week. And so I said, well, what, of course, while you're at it, you might as well do some market research. So I said, what specifically, do you like about the show? And he said he liked this better than other things I'd done before that were more formal. And he said he enjoyed our interaction and stuff. And he said there's no blank spots, we can keep it going. There isn't any problem with that. But he said he enjoyed the tech talk that we were doing, where we're talking about different tech things that we're doing, where you're, your specialty is video, my specialty is more audio. And of course we cross a little bit, but but he really enjoys the actual tech talk. And his name's John Adkins. Again, a good friend of mine, and he's always listened to everything I've put out. But he was it's like, hey, it wasn't accusing, but what happened to the show? It's something I listen to every week. What in the world's going on? I'm like, sorry, it's okay. Give me smack my wrist or something. I said, I'm so sorry. But but he said he enjoyed watching us interact on the tech talk and stuff, and just the different things we talked about, and just loved it and thought it was great.
Well, Rick had busy was busy this Saturday, so we didn't do Tech Down Over. I nearly was going to email you, say, are you free? And I was going to do Tech Down Over with you.
Oh,
I was nearly thinking about. I thought, yeah, why not? Because I should say what we're going to talk about, but because I was itching to have a talk about, because with some tech, because when you start looking at things, there's just so many things you want to do. So I've got my eye on different things. And what I just love with the cameras and the video, I'm just obsessed with stabilized images. Okay. I just can't stand movement. And I don't know, no matter what you do, even with these real stabilized lens when you're holding them, no matter, like if you have them really stabilized, what the stabilized does on a lot of them does some really weird things. Have you ever seen some people with the video and it's really nice and steady, but the edges sometimes start waving about? Have you ever noticed that? Because yes. And they go really weird. So hang on, this dog's eating something. What are you eating down here? Just stay away. I don't mind what he's eating. Yeah, well, that's what I just didn't want to have the dog. It wasn't near the power cable. I was just watching from. But what I'm obsessed with, as I said, with that stabilization. But I liked it on like how it is on a tripod, because no matter how much I try, even just breathing, and people might not, but I see that movement. Unless you've got, sometimes when you do a bit of film, you do that movement on purpose. But I really just love just perfectly still shots, and nice pans at perfectly level or whatever. And I've been looking at that. You heard before when I got the Osmo, which you saw the Osmo, which was the all-in-one type thing, has the the little camera on it. But there's also one I'm looking at now. It's a Pilot Fly, which is sort of like the Osmo, but it's a bit bigger, but to put your DSLR on.
Okay.
And so, because I've seen things like there's the Ronin, which is a big one, which you hold. Yeah, great, but you've just got to set it up, and it's so cumbersome. You look really inconspicuous with this whopping great big thing which you're holding up. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's really not that simple to use. But these other ones just work so much nicer that they just have that simple hold. And for the mirrorless cameras, you can hold them because the mirrorless cameras are quite a bit lighter than all the other ones
that's
around.
Cool. I wasn't aware of that.
But the thing is that these things are, for me, about $1,500, about $1,000 in your sort of speak. But like the Osmo was about the $1,000, so not that much more of an investment for something that I might actually use because I can hold it. And if you put your DSLR, it's not such a hard thing. Because what I don't like is sometimes you've got to set up a thing, go really out of your way to set up all your gear and start using it. Whereas if it's so simple, you might take it a little bit more often to different places. But the only things I'm just waiting for, but why I won't get that straight away, is because I've got I've got my DSLR, but the Canon 60D, which is still a mirrored camera, so that weighs quite a bit, and it's really wouldn't be designed for that. So, but I've got the Panasonic FZ1000. That'd be ideal for it. But the only thing is that puts that off from it, that won't make it work, is when you don't use the camera for, say, 5-10 minutes, it switches off.
Oh, wow.
But not only switches off, but the lens goes in.
Oh.
Shuts down. So that's not a problem in itself as far as normal filming when it comes out. But when you've got it on a balanced gimbal, the weight changes because it goes in and then throws everything out, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And if you're not doing it all the time, so and some of the times you'll be just waiting before you hit that record button. And so you might be off 5 minutes. So I'll want to find I'm trying to find. So if you're any good at looking on the web, the Panasonic FZ1000, I'm trying to find out, is there a way that I can stop it from stopping it from going to sleep and then going back in, because that would be a really good, because that's a good enough camera to do it, because it's a 4K. But then this is only to keep your friend happy, you see, about the tech talk, you see.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, I'm good. Yeah.
But then I've been looking, just before we got on, I was waiting and just watching the camera store guys, and they've been to Photokina in Germany, and I've been waiting for the Panasonic GH4, which is quite similar to my FZ1000, but it has the changeable lenses, whereas the FZ1000 is a bridge camera, so it has a 24 to 400, I think, lens, but it's just permanently attached. You can't change them. But the GH4, the current one that's out, that does have that. But I won't buy one of them because that's been out for about 3-4 years now. And I thought everybody says, wait for the GH5. And they sort of announced that they're at Photokina. So that I'm waiting for that to come out. So I might myself to that, because one of the big differences with that, but the GH4 has been had really good reviews, and I don't remember we talked about Andy Ox, and
Andy Ox,
over from not Denmark, wasn't it?
No, Oslo, wasn't it?
Norway, yeah, Norway. That's when I got into him, when he sort of switched from his Canon 5D Mark II to the Panasonic GH4. And all of his filming's done on that, and I thought it just does such a good quality, and I'm so happy with the FZ1000 that I thought, and I know that it's one of the cameras. You know, when you get a camera, when you try and do all the manual operations, but it's awkward to find all the buttons.
Yes.
Whereas this one isn't. It's just got one lovely button that you press it and it cycles through. You can see on the aperture now the shutter speed. Yeah, and you can just press it to go to the thing and just roll it up and down. It's really good to operate. And like the FZ1000, it's got the flip out screen on the back of the camera. And a lot of them have tilty screens, but these have the full flip out, so you can flip it out, turn it around, look at monitor what you're doing
Mhm.
on these gimbals as well. But what I like as well, you can put it on the back of the camera, see what it is on there. But when you're not using it, shut it. So if you're holding it up to your eyes, so you're not scratching it, you're not sticking your
Mhm.
nose onto the viewfinder, well, not the viewfinder, the LCD screen. But it's I'm just be keen to get that one. One of the big differences with that, a lot of the DSLRs, this will have the 4K with the 60 frames a second. So most of the other ones are just the what's it, the 30 frames a second. So it will be a bit better for some more slow motion or whatever on that, but just a clarity.
That sounds good. The one of the things, my wife has a little small bridge camera, and it'll do video, and of course, in addition to the regular pictures. But one of the things I really like is you can flip out the monitor screen and turn it facing you, so you can get in front of the camera
Yep.
and see how well you're lined up and everything like that. Now that really comes in handy whenever you're going to be doing that kind of stuff. You can actually see it, because another one, you might have to set up a separate monitor or something, if it'll even have that kind of a plug-in on it. You have to set up a separate monitor that you could watch, and then you're looking away from the camera. With this, you can look right at the camera with the lens and the monitor right beside of it, and so you can look at that and they can't tell.
I just don't know why all the cameras just don't have that as standard, because you'd know in this, nearly everybody wants to do something where they need to see what's going on. Like this video camera, the flip out viewfinder, you can see back to me, so you can see what's coming through the camera. Those ones just stuck on the back, I think the only time they're any good is for professional people who are always behind the camera. But these days, a lot of these professional people, they want to use that camera to get in front of the camera so they can film themselves talking about what they're doing.
Yeah, I think the need has to be there before, and then it lags behind the actual development. And I have a feeling more will be doing that now, but because of the YouTube explosion. But in general, it has to be a big deal before they get around to doing it, and people start asking for it, and they go, "Oh, we hadn't thought of that," and then they finally put it in.
And it's still amazing. Sorry, what was that?
Oh, no, go ahead. I had a subject change. You go ahead.
I was just going to say, it still amazes me when you said that they'll give things that people want.
Mhm.
And a lot of things, you just wait for a new model and it comes out, and what do they say? Blind Freddy would know that.
Yes.
So, Blind Freddy can see that. And he said, but they say, like Canon, you think everybody's waiting for their 4K DSLR to come out.
Yeah.
Then they come out with the ATT. No, 4K.
No 4K.
Uh,
Well,
then
I was just going to say, the reason why is because the people who make the decisions on what's in the camera are not the technicians and not the creative people. You have creative people, you have technicians. They submit the things that would be cool. Then the bean counters decide what actually goes in the camera. And so, would it cost this much more to manufacture with 4K? Don't worry about it. And they don't really have the idea about how much the demand is for that. And then they just don't do it. And then everybody's like, what? And so everybody buys Nikons. And then they realize their mistake when it's too late.
But it's just quite, like Nikon and Canon, but it's just quite amazing that people say, but you don't need 4K. Well, you don't, but everybody wants it.
And eventually you'll need it. You're buying for what you may need, that you expect to need and want to play with, in the next year or two. You're not doing it based on what you have to have right now because you haven't had it. But you sure would like to explore that, so they should put it in there.
And I mean, anybody out there, like I don't do it, but anybody who's filming things, for other people, or for paid for money, nearly everybody will say, are you going to film it in 4K? They don't know what on earth they're asking for, but they just know that's what you've got to get it for. Don't care. But all the talk is 4K TVs. You can't buy a TV these days. People say, it's got 4K. But I bet you most people say, what does that mean? Well, I don't know, but everybody says I should have one.
It's the best. Yeah.
And that's the thing. But as I said, like all these, that's where the Sonys are really taking off and killing a lot of them. They're a great camera, but there's other cameras I still think the Canon, the Panasonic. Well, the Panasonic's got the 4K, and the Nikon's probably better cameras in the long run. But Sony have got so many great features and the quality in there. They just have like the battery life is not so good, and I think the menu's not that easy to follow, and the design of the cameras with the buttons not that best. But they've just nearly captured the market. They can't just produce enough cameras, and these cameras like the was the A7R Mark II, and that it's $4,000. I mean, that's without a lens. And then
wow.
the S2, which is the video version of it, like the picture version of it, is, as I said, $4,400 or what here, and it's got a 42 megapixel sensor for the camera.
Mm-hmm.
But the one for the S2 is the video version, which has got a 12 megabyte sensor, but it's dearer than the other one, and the 42, because it's better for the video. But when you see the quality of the video that this 4K camera does, it's just incredible. And I just couldn't figure out, when there was a demo somebody was showing on the 4K of the Sony, and I just couldn't believe what I was looking at. I thought, what on earth are they trying to show me? You know, they must have shot this in the morning and also at night, because it was shown clicking from night to, and then I realized it was that dark. They just opened up the camera, and it just but without the noise. Like a lot of them can go down to real low light, but it just looks horrible.
Mm-hmm.
But this one was opened so much, and it didn't have any grain in it. It was just perfect.
Wow.
And I thought, it's just fantastic. But if you get a chance to see some of that Sony quality, but I know it's expensive, but that's one of the things I won't get, why I haven't got one. Not that I don't like them, I love them, and I would love to have one of them. But because I've got those two, which one do I get? The one with the 42 megapixel that gets the best ever photos you could possibly get. The video's still quite excellent on it, but not as good as the S2. And I thought, well, do I give up that then go for a 12 megapixel, still get the better video one? And that's why I just don't give, because when you're paying that much money, you want to get the right one, don't you?
Well, whichever one you're going to do. Are you going to do more, audio? I mean, are you going to do more still shots, or are you going to do more video? Do you have respectable megapixels already for still shots, and then you would go for the video, or because the 12 megapixel, you would probably just go the video on that one. You probably have better megapixels in other cameras already. So it'd be like, I don't know, which one do I want? You have to decide what's most important to you. The still images or the video would be the best.
Yeah, I get swayed either way. I love the video, but then I love the stills. But as I said, the Sonic still that's got a 20 megapixels. It still does an excellent still. I think I might go for the video one, because I think it'd be more versatile for what I want.
Well, for what you're wanting to do.
And it's the only one that shoots video in the full frame.
Yes.
All the other ones crop it. Even, all the other.
That could be the deciding factor right there. I think if I were you, I'd go for the video too.
I think so too, because it's unique, and really with the stills, it's more the creative. Well, even so on video, but on that, it's more so how you center the shot, the way you take that shot more than in the video. In the video, yes, you can still do that, but it shows up the quality worse because people are looking at it more. Whereas the video freezes, and you can freeze that tone. But if you just move a video slightly and it's off, the colors will change.
Yes.
And it'll go shocking. You'll lose that picture. Whereas on a picture, yes, it's still as awkward, but you can freeze that moment, and that's the real difference. But I think I keep convincing myself I'll want the Sony one, and that's I've got Hudson crying here.
Again here. Well, no, what he's trying to say is episode 24. It's on the screen, but we didn't say so.
Oh, yes, it is episode 24, isn't it?
That's probably what Hudson's saying. I think I heard it. I think it was 24 definitely.
You just start talking for a second, and then I'll just tell him to shut up and come in here. So
okay. How about this? At at work, the other day, have you ever spent any time thinking about all of a sudden this idea for this really cool product, of course, you don't have the money to develop and make a prototype and all this, but you just get the idea of this product that would just be so cool, and there would be a demand for it, and you're talking to somebody about it, and it's just the coolest thing ever. And no one's thought of it. You've never heard of it, and it's this thing that is so obvious, but at the same time, you just know that no one else has done it because you've never heard of it, and you should have if it had been out there. Friend of mine at work, Anthony Kreiner, he and we work together a few hours a night, most nights in the week. And while we're working, we're walking past each other, and we have conversations in passing about, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we invented something that did this? And then we sit there and we hash it out. He's got a very engineering-like mind. And so we're talking about these things. And I came up with an idea the other day, and we were hashing it out. And it went so far as we were both sure that this had never been done. And so I actually typed up a proposal that he was going to give to an engineer friend of his that, and see, because it would be a very simple thing that this engineer, electronics engineer guy could really do. And here was the idea. It was the idea of, I've seen my original camera back here sitting here behind me, and my grandmother's last camera. It was a Minolta. Mine is an old 1969 steel Yashica manual camera, 35 millimeter, both of them. And what occurred to me was that, and again, we talked about it, and it seemed like a good idea, that if you could come up with some type of cartridge that the electronics were in the space that the actual film canister takes up, and then you had something that extended across the film area where the actual picture is, put through the shutter and it's taken, and just have a sensor right there with the electronics in the thing with something, and you just put it in any 35 millimeter camera, close it down, and it would just be a recording device for the pictures that you take. Yeah. And you could use an old 1969, any 35 millimeter camera would work because it was really cool. That would just be a really, really cool device to have. And then, you would pull it out of the camera as a cartridge, plug it into your computer for charging and to transfer the pictures. You could get as much storage in it as you could, and just all of those different things. You could use it in any 35 millimeter camera you ever wanted to. Third world countries, they could actually buy all these cheap cameras that have no use. They're great technological, great pieces of equipment. They're just useless now. There's all kinds of organizations that do photography classes where they're teaching the basics of photography, and you can get a whole bunch of cheap cameras, get some of these things, because they wouldn't be that expensive to manufacture, and you could just do that, have those. Nonprofit organizations could do that. Of course, there would be the people that love the old glass and the old cameras would love to do it. That would be me. And so it just seemed to make sense that would just be the greatest thing. And we'd never heard of it, and it was great. I even typed up a proposal right there at work on my break and lunch in order to, on my little tablet, to give him to. So then I emailed it to him. And he goes, as soon as I emailed it to him, he said, cool, look at this. And there was an ad that he forwarded to me where someone else had already done this. And I said, we were brilliant, just a little late.
There is something, but that sounds like a real good idea because, like you said, there's not only third world, but anybody who's into cameras and that'll probably got an old lot of DSLRs that won't do anything, that's just sat on a shelf. And that'd be great if they could take the cameras out, just do it digitally, because you don't want to waste film on it. And let's face it, most places you can't get any film developed anyway. But that'd be great. But like me, I'm not that nostalgic, and I've given my cameras to a friend of mine who collects them and puts them. They might be worth something in someday, but it'd be great if I would have kept something. If you could put a 35mm cartridge in there, digital cartridge with the electronics, and just take that out, plug it in. So they have. How much who's doing that?
Well, he just showed me the picture on the email, and I haven't gone to the link I need to go see because I'm liable just to buy one of this guy's, whatever it is. But it just had a picture of a guy on there and say, hey, look, it's already been done. So I don't know if you got it from an article or they're directly being marketed, but I've got 3. Let's see. Okay, I have the Yashica camera, my first camera. I've got a Minolta that is my grandmother's camera that I ended up with after she passed away. I've got a Canon EOS Elan. I used to have an Elan too, and I sold that when digital first came in because I've got 3 or I might have 4 separate 35 millimeter cameras that are just here and are useless for the most part. I would love to be able to use those. So I haven't had the time. I've been working overtime and stuff, but I'm going to check and see if those are available and how much they would actually cost. I would love to get out that 1969 camera again, but whatever the capabilities of the camera itself, there's no metering, effective metering in there. There's no image stabilization. It would be right back to the good old days to where I was eyeballing things and, doing it on but you have so much more leeway if it's digital and you can fix it afterwards. So
That's
it
right.
would be way better than the film was originally to start with. The resolutions would be better. Just a simple recording device. Whenever it sends the thing back, I've got glass I'd love to use, the old screw type lens. I've got a Tamron that had an adjustable, you could put a different mounting on it at different times, and it's a really clean lens. Love that lens. Of course, it's so small that all the other ones with it's a manual focus, so all the ones with power focusing are much bigger, and so there's no use for that lens. Can't even get an adapter for it. And so I would just love to use those 35 millimeters again, just to enjoy using them again. But like you say, I'll have to look and see. But we had a great idea and we were brilliant, but all of a sudden it was like, somebody's already done that.
The thing is that you can, if you know there's something like that, you
Mhm.
can look around and get yourself some decent cheap cameras because people don't like me. They think, well, they're no use. They'll just get them, just glad enough to get rid of them a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So and it's worth buying if you can, because you were saying about the quality of the image.
Mhm.
Sometimes, what do people do? A lot of the time, they get these wonderfully clear, massive pictures that's exceptionally clear,
Mhm.
and they don't like that. They want this old retro look.
Yes.
And some of these old cameras that way, it might take a worse picture, but it's better.
Mhm.
Sometimes, how many times do you get the like in films when
Mhm.
you see it as clear as it is when they shoot it,
Mhm.
it looks horrible. Like when the guns that they're carrying, you can see they're just plastic models.
Mhm.
Whereas when you put a bit of grunge in it and put a bit of noise in the picture, it looks really effective. But as I said, but if you can get some of those old ones, I reckon you get some really good quality on them. So, that's quite amazing to. Yeah, let me know what you will find out on that because that'd be quite interesting. Eh?
Well, yeah, I think it would. I think a lot of the people who started back in the film days would just be nostalgic enough to buy one
Mm,
for whatever it is, and then just go and play. It'd be so much fun. Yeah, I think I had a tendency, even with digital stuff. I had
hmm
more control over this with digital stuff. I would take normal digital color photos, but then whenever I did the final picture that I was going to put on Flickr, I was going to put online or whatever, a lot of them, not maybe a third of all the ones that I did, maybe a fourth, I would render in either black and white or sepia tone because
mm,
it called for it. Like I had
mm.
this one where there's a farm out the road from us, and they have 200 or 300 acre farm, and they actually have a small 6 or 7 buffalo herd out there.
Oh,
And
okay.
there's no free roaming buffalo around here, but in this area, but this guy had this farm. And so I was on the road up above looking down over this big, long, kind of a rolling hill meadow. And all of a sudden the main bull decided he was going to run. Of course, everybody runs with him. So there's sagebrush everywhere and this thing is running. Well, I zoomed in close enough to where it looks like there's no telephone poles, no buildings or anything. And all you see is sagebrush and these buffalo running, and it's still shot, and I got 2 or 3 shots of that, and it looks like they are out on the prairie going, and there's about, like you say, 7 or 8 of them in this picture, and I rendered that in sepia tone, and
Mm,
it looked like an old tintype of a thing because it called for it. That's what it really needed to be. It wouldn't have been anywhere near as effective a picture in color. It made it look old vintage. And so, I took the digital pictures that I have taken, and a lot of those if it seemed to need a vintage look, I had the power in the computer to go ahead and render them that way. And so I think it'd be cool, if the device had a switch on it where you could take it initially in color or initially. That one of the things in black and white that I found out whenever I would take it in color, before I would convert it to black and white, or sepia, I would ramp the color up in it and exaggerate it really drastically to where it was really wild looking, and then convert it to black and white, which gave you much better separation between the gray, grayscale tones in the final thing. And that's just something I learned after I'd gotten into it, because it might look a little dull and not as sharp in black and white if you just did it from the normal photograph. But if you ramped it up and exaggerated the color and then converted it, then you had this really vivid black and white that popped, And again, that was just experimentation. But I love doing that. I would love to have a chance to do that kind of stuff again. I'd love to just use those old cameras again. I mean, I'm nostalgic for that. I would love to have that chance. My grandmother's camera. If I could take pictures again with my grandmother's camera, that would just be so nice.
It takes me back to thinking there was they had when you talk about black and white, there was a show here called Pot Black, which used to show the live snooker. But back in the 70s, when the live snooker was in black and white, I guess all these nicely coloured balls, and the voiceover says he's coming into now the blues just next to the pink there. He said,
they have to describe it. Yeah.
They said not not the one on the right, because they all looked just slightly different tones of grey. And I thought, but people watch it. I thought, how could people watch black and white? But like you said, there's certain things that just don't look right in colour. Like when I think of World War II pictures, when you ever see that in colour,
yes,
well, that's not back then. Because your mind conditioned to it's all black and white.
That was a black and white world.
And that's wartime Germany and England and America. No, it was all, there was no color in it. That's why it was miserable. It's got
yeah.
It was devastating time. You couldn't have any nice real. But you think even in devastation, there'd have been lovely sunny days with everything looking really nice and all colourful and that. But when you see these ones, it just, I'll tell you what really shows you the thing that really upset me and disappointed me was seeing Herman Munster when colour television came in, storm in colour. It really,
real pasty looking.
It was bright green, wasn't he, Herman Munster? And it just didn't look right. But in black and white, they all look scary. And, the father was a vampire, was Dracula, but he just looked like a fella with a lot of white makeup on when it was in colour. And it just didn't look right. But as I said, that really put me off that. You just think, that would have been better. Just leave it in black and white. But because Herman Munster was much scarier in black and white than he was in colour. Anyways.
Well, but at the same time, whenever they would the early color photos, since they had to do the red, blue, green, and had 3 layers of the different stuff, the resolution was nowhere near as good as it was in black and white. So you would lose detail, and it would go to color, but then it would lose detail, and so it was just kind of like, some things really should be. I mean, I think a lot of people have the impression that the world itself was in black and white during World War II.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, because it just seems that way. And it's, like you say, bleak and dreary, and it really tells the story of just how awful things were since it was so colorless and so drab, And
I used to shoot a lot in the film days, a lot in slides, not for pictures, because they used to come up so much better. The colors were more vibrant. It was the HDR of the film age, wasn't it? Really?
Yes, it was. Kodachrome.
The only thing is, it just took you so long to load all the damn pictures up into the slide projector. And if you tip them out, and it would take you forever to slide them, put them all together, and then watch them. But I know I never go showing my pictures to any people in the slides, especially because remember the people where you say, I'll show you some slides, and you go, oh no.
You're like, here I am loading the car.
It's still loading it. Oh, and now there's so-and-so putting that in there. And then now we're shutting the car door, and they have 500 shots of their holiday. But that's why whenever I do video, I really love doing a 6 hours worth of video and showing somebody 2 minutes. And so I figure if people can do 1,000 hours worth of, or tens of thousands of hours worth of filming for a 2-hour motion picture, well, my couple of hours is going to be about 30 to 40 seconds worth of interesting sort of quality on that. But
That's
anyway,
true.
that's
That's true.
Gee, we're getting close to the time again. Quickly, it's gone around very quickly this time.
Well, we started just right at, I think it was between 6 and 5 after, for
As
you
I
it was
said,
9.
talking about cameras, because I've also been looking at this. Fuji's got the T2. I think it's a Fuji TX2. I can't remember what it is on there. What's it called? The Fuji. Yeah, I forget what it is.
Well,
What's
Hudson's
it called?
trying to tell you.
He's trying to tell me something. He says it's nearly over. He says, I want to go out, or I want a biscuit or something on there.
Oh, sure.
But that Fuji, that everybody seems to be saying great things about that. And I said the only thing for video, it's limited to 10 minutes 4K. But really, for what? Well, that doesn't matter, because how many things do you film more than for DSLR anyway? If I want to do something for an hour or two, I've got this camera. I've got the other Panasonic that can sit in a tripod and go for hours if I want to in great quality. It's the sort of things you're not going to film 10 minutes. I'm not doing interviews with it. If I want to do an interview, I've got plenty of things I can do. And even then, if you say when you talk to the person, I'm going to do an interview, I'll just stop every now and then. We'll just stop and then start again. So you don't need to do more than 10 minutes at a time. But I'm still really itching, trying not to buy anything this year. I promised myself I'm not going to buy any camera.
I'm rooting for you. You've almost nailed it. You're almost there. And, I'm okay. And again, I haven't been saying, did you buy anything? Did you buy anything?
No.
I'm rooting for you. I think you can make it. I really do.
I must admit, though, life's much better when you think you want something and you start searching the internet for it. I don't know how people can just get on the internet and they say surf. No, I've got to have a reason when. If I've got something in mind, I'll look for it and find out all the reviews on. I really enjoy that. But when I can't just look at things for the sake of looking. I've got to think I want to buy that. And then, like you were saying before about getting out and about, one of the other things I'm thinking of was this week was, like you said, get out into the caravan or something, or the camper van. I thought, why don't I get myself a caravan and go out with the camera? Because I thought a lot of the things, when you're stuck at home, you never get it. You've got to go out and spend hours out there. So why don't you get yourself a caravan or a camper van and go out into the wilderness or something? And then when you're there hours, you can leave the camera out on the tripod or on the slider and do all these things. So I'm thinking about that as well. I said, I've got the car that's got enough power to tow it. And so I thought, well, why do that?
When you think about photography equipment, you usually think of lenses, bodies, and all the different things like that. And now you're going to buy a vehicle in order for your photography hobby. You're going to buy you a caravan.
But like they say, you use anything to get good shots. Like I've got a bicycle mount for that, the Osmo, so you can do some nice slider shots with the bicycle. But anything other than you walking is a good idea. Stick it on the, on the bike, stick it on the top of the caravan or something. You're going along, do all this and that. So, but I keep looking. But the only thing I hate with anything, I don't mind paying some money for things that I can use, but I hate getting things that it's awkward to use, like skis or things like that. That yes, even if I was into it, you buy it, but there's only 4 months of the year that you could go, but you have to go on a holiday to do it, because it's not something you just jump out. If you were living in Switzerland, you just jump out your front door and there's skiing all over the place, but you have to go there and do that. And same thing with a camper van. You just can't usually just jump out. It's got to be something you can't just go out. Oh, I'll just go out today and go away for a day on the weekend.
Well, our experience with that, our first camper, again, they call them campers here. Our first camper was 8 feet long, but then when I got there, it was like 20 feet long. It was a pop-up tent camper type of a thing.
Did it stretch?
Yeah, no, it just kind of grew. But the base of it was about 8 feet long, and so you could tow it behind a minivan. But then when you got there, it popped out and had a king size and a queen size bed that was outboard on the thing, and it was a tent camper. And we could pop in and out with that thing. I could actually push it around and then hook it up
Mm.
and get there and then turn it around in the driveway, and, without having to back it in or whatever. Then we ended up trading that for a 24-foot fifth wheel camper, which is one of those that hang over the back of the bed of a pickup truck and
Oh
mount
yes,
in the bed of a pickup truck.
goose,
Now
gooseneck.
that we used it once or twice a year
Mm.
but we would go for a full week or 2 full weeks. We camped, the longest we did, I think 3 different times we went for like 14, 15 days. One time it went 16, and that was the longest we had, but we would stay for 2 solid weeks with this camper. But we didn't take the little short weekend trips like we had been doing.
Uh,
You could go stay 1 night, 2 nights or whatever, pop it all back in, even if it was raining, you dry it off as best you can, pop it back in, come back home, open it back up when you get home so that it has a chance to dry out before you
mm.
pack it up for good. And then it clamps down and you're ready to go. But you could, that thing was so easy and convenient to run around with. And you could do a little short weekend trip anytime you wanted to. The bigger you get, the more luxurious you get, the less you do.
Yeah,
Well,
and that's what I
we've kind
wanted,
of,
just
go
that's
ahead.
what I wanted, just a little one, so you
Hmm.
can do that. But a little enough, but big enough that you can sleep in it. But as I said, but small enough that you don't mind throwing out, because, like you said, that big one, and you also feel obliged to stack it up, and you can't possibly just take it out for a weekend. You've got to do something major on it. And as I said,
Hmm.
with the small ones, that's a whole lot. And let's face it, what do you do? Well, as long as I've got somewhere to sleep, sit to eat something,
Hmm.
that's about it.
Well,
Don't need anything else.
the small one actually slept as many people as the big one did.
Mm.
I mean, just the way it went with the small one, my parents came and there was a family reunion nearby where we were camping. So we camped there, and then my parents came, stayed with us a couple of nights before the reunion. And so we slept 5 in it. 2 of us, my wife and myself on one end, my parents on the other end, and our daughter with the table that converted down to one in the middle. And we were all comfortable and did just fine in that little small one. Because it got so big when it got there, the other one, um, it was set up more for long-term stays for 2 people. And so there was a lot of cabinet space, a lot of pantry space. And so like you say, it was set up for an extended stay the way the plan was set up. And we could have slept more people, but really all we ever did end up sleeping in that one was 3, our daughter and us. And so, but like you say, it was great for those longer stays, but you found you didn't do it very much. What we've done, we sold our camper earlier this year. And what we're going to start doing later on, it'll be easier on us as we get older. We are going to start actually going and staying. There's all types of cabins that you can
I've
rent
seen,
and
yeah,
stay
they
in
have,
all
yeah.
over the place,
Mm.
all over our state and around surrounding states, even out west, like bed and breakfast type of things, and just these cabins that you can rent. And now on our big camper, we never had a payment on it. It was, kind of a trade situation, so we never did pay a payment on it. But if you have a camper payment all year, and then you have a truck payment, and you only take it out for 2 weeks a year, that's not very
Mm.
economical. But you can take 1 month's worth of payment
Mm.
and take one of your small cars, go to a cabin, because you're going to have small cars anyway. The big truck would be a specialty item for either hauling things or dragging the camper around, or you wouldn't have such a big truck. And just take your little car that you have already and take 1 month's worth of camper payment and truck payment and go and stay in a cabin for a week or 2.
Mm.
And it's much more economical. They
Yeah,
have the
definitely.
place all set up and cleaned up. You can do the same cooking that you do. You can cook over a fire just like you do when you're at a campground. Roast weenies and cook. She cooks gourmet whenever we go out there over a fire and stuff. I mean, it's really amazing. But that's it's going to be much more economical to do that, I think. Plus, we'll go other places. It's a lot way less on gas, than
Definitely.
dragging. Because we had people that were just so totally envious of us because we had a Nissan Titan um, pickup truck and then had that 24-foot fifth wheel, and we were getting 10 miles to the gallon. They couldn't believe it. Most of them were getting 5, 6, 7. Some were getting 2 or 3 if they had a really big camper on a And so we were getting 10. We were in 2 digits, and they just thought it was amazing, that we were doing so well. But 10 miles to the gallon, the farther away you go, the more expensive your trip gets. So, just driving in a little car, having everything you need right there and doing the cabin thing, it's going to be much more economical, I think.
I think so too. Well, I think we're nearly at the end of it's past that time already. So that was the end of the show. What was it, 24? So next week, episode number 25. So it goes so damn quickly. So thank you once again for the scintillating conversation we've been having all evening. And
I enjoy it.
And we'll catch you next week. So anybody watching, please subscribe to the channel and you get notifications every time we upload something. I think they do from the live stream as well. Yes, they do. Get a notification so you can watch the live stream. And please put a comment down, even bad ones. I don't mind, but it'd be nice to know that you get a bad one. So
we know we have arrived when we start getting bad comments.
Don't waste your time. But anyway. I'll bye for that and see you next week. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening. Links for a free subscription, feedback, and everything else we do is at holbrooknewmedia.com. You can find all things Geoff Blanchard at geoffblanchard.com.